What is happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Card CEO.
Did he get another one? Oh! Gallo's on his way back. He got it! Santa Maria! Lindor again!
There it is! He did it! A 40-70 season, and a season unlike any other in Major League Baseball history for Ronald Acuna Jr.
There's a drive to right, off the bat of Evan Carter, and what a postseason he is having.
He hits this one hard. He hits it a mile to left. Mike Trout has ripped a home run.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Trout, and you're listening to Sports Card CEO with Kern, Bubba, and Hand.
We got the boys in the house. We have a big special guest today as we kick off another episode. Gentlemen, how you doing?
What's going on?
Good. What's up? What's up? Got my Starbucks in right before we got the episode going, so I'm feeling a little geeked. I don't have Celsius, but I had Starbucks.
Y'all been full of a little trash talk in the pregame today. I'm feeling a little uptight tension. You boys need to relax. Let's have a fun time today.
Well, your mic is still a failure today, but we're just going to roll with it.
Yeah,
if nobody can hear you today, we'll just roll with the episode either way.
Yeah.
I haven't had this much criticism since yesterday. You feel like my criticizing me after a card show. That's exactly what you two sound like right now. Dad, you're not any good. You don't do anything anymore.
You can't be talking about this weekend because that wasn't much of a card show.
Yeah, we'll get into that as we do a little round table here, boys. Kearns, Gary and I were together this weekend. We got to catch up a lot and hug and all those fun things. So why don't you kick us off of your last week in Kernwood?
Man, there's not a whole lot going on here from a card buying standpoint. I just been spending all my money ripping. I've probably went through about, as I mentioned last week, I've been trying to source as many 24 draft cases as I can. I've probably sourced about 7 in the last week, and I've went through all of them. I don't really have much to show for it. So like I say, ripping is fun. If you can afford to do it for fun, do it. But it's a losing proposition. Basically, there's probably, of all the cases, there's probably have about 4 cards going out to grade. A couple oranges, just not the right names. But I've been kind of slow from a buying standpoint. I'm kind of calming down here in baseball season, from the minor league perspective at least. As the season comes to an end, it's nice to see Walcott end real hot as he did last season. Personal wise, like as I mentioned last week, man, just work is crazy here. Work is good. Making a little trip tomorrow down to Tampa. Going to go see my boy Junior play, and have more to share on that on next week's episode. What's up with you, Gary?
Well, I got to go to see a show, we'll call it, quote unquote, again this weekend and see the Hams, which was cool. From a buying standpoint, still it's very similar to Kern. I'm picking some stuff up. I did pick up a really cool card at the show. Shout out to Brian Brennan and Big Capital. I picked up a Condon Red at the show, which I was excited about because there wasn't much else to write home about. I did also pick up a Tom Brady. I traded a Chipper Jones Grail of mine for a Tom Brady Grail, so was excited about that. But just really disappointed with that show in Atlanta. I really just feel like, there was a decent amount of vendors there, but there just wasn't much that, as far as Bowman or baseball at all. I mean, out of all the cards there might have been 2% that was Bowman, and maybe 1 out of 5,000 cards that was of any interest at all. So it was just really rough. And then people walking the floor, just really, they come up and stare at your cards and be like, how much is that? And you'd be like, I don't know, $1,000. They'd be like, oh man, I only brought like $50, So it was just one of those shows. It's cool to see Ham. We did do a college football live, which would have been really, I thought there was a great session there. My boy Ham, it's kind of what's rolling right now with him and sound. We did this whole thing. I'm excited about it. And he goes, dude, we had no sound. So sorry about our college football picks that never got out there, but excited about today's episode. Excited about the new release, man. I think I need that right now. I need that new release. I'm getting prepared. I got to do some strategy sessions with Aram and Kern here because I'm behind right now. I haven't done my research, but
next week we're gonna have Aram on for next week's episode to do a 25 Bowman.
Yep, which will be awesome. But Ham, how about you? What did you think about the show? How was your week?
Yeah, obviously there's some sound issues for me, and I don't know what this is about, but legitimately we recorded an entire college football game day and the microphones were cut out. And then today, as we're recording the show, it's telling me that my microphone is out. So I guess that my voice is just no longer needed to be heard. And I just need to sit in the background and just I can make balloon animals, guys. That's what I'll do from now on.
I think maybe it's the universe telling us that they don't care what you have to say about college football.
But the Ham House boys rolled 6 hours on the road down to the ATL, Atlanta, for the Culture Collision Card Show. And yeah, a little disappointed. The attendance was low. The involvement from the vendors was low. The available inventory on the show floor was low. But yet somehow little Matt managed to sell about 20K. And it made the trip worthwhile for us. And of course, getting to see Gary and hug him and make sure that, I haven't really hurt his feelings. I'm just, we repaired any bad relationships. It was great to see Bubba and his boys. But we turned around real quick, man, and hit the road back to North Carolina on Saturday. So kind of a whirlwind. And then back in the saddle today with, life and business and all the things. Super excited about today's show. I will say this, we talk a lot in the hobby about like pivoting and, Kern isn't much of a pivoter. Kern stays in his lane and it is superfractors, reds and oranges of his guys. But we've had a lot of success pivoting recently into a lot of the 90s inserts and a lot of the early Kaboom market. And, that pretty much has sustained us as Ham House Sports over the last 60 days. That really has been a good win for us to kind of pivot into some different products within the marketplace. So that's been a lot of fun. But outside of that, boys, looking forward to our guest today.
Before we get to the guest, we do need to give an update to the road to 100,000. We talked about that last week. Again, it was very difficult. I mean, this show was not what we had hoped for, but I will happy to report we did add another $500 or so to the kitty, to the road to 100,000, which gets us a little bit closer to where we need to be to get into these cards we want to get into. At least maybe now during the Bowman release, we might be able to pick up a card or two of interest and do something with it. But it was very difficult. And, we were able to kind of team up and get some stuff done there. Little Matt did some great work and got us some stuff moved. But also, and I did want to highlight this, the coolest thing of the night, and it kind of got me thinking, maybe we need to get more into this. Ham, this was your pack. If you want to share this to everybody listening, but it was really cool. And it's got me thinking now, Kern, you and I need to buy some 52 Bowman wax or 52 Tops wax. We need to get into some of that business. And so, Ham, share a little bit of what we did.
So little Matt at a local card show, probably about a month ago, found a guy who owns a shop, and he had a fella bring in some sealed 1986 Fleer packs. And I think I mentioned it on a show a couple weeks ago, and I had no intent on opening the pack. It was just one of the nostalgia of a 1986 Fleer Jordan pack sitting on the shelf, right? Well, we get to Culture Collision, and Bubba goes, I want in. Open it right now. And he threw some cash on the table. He said, we're opening it right now. And so his three boys and my three boys, we ripped a pack of 86 Fleer. And I can tell you, it's the most exhilarating card experience that I have personally had.
I was sweating watching that thing on Instagram of you guys open it. I was sweating. Two Bulls guards and oh my God.
That was what was nuts.
But no Jordan.
When he pulled, this was the last card that he pulled in the entire, we already knew the back card was a Patrick Ewing, and Ham's literally sweating it, and he goes, oh my gosh, second Bulls guard. And there was like, dude, there's no way it's not. And here's the kicker. These cards were clean. I mean, these were like, at minimum, this card was a PSA 9, maybe a BGS 9.5. So you're talking about a, what, $30, $40, $50,000 card? If it's a 9.5?
Well, for 9.5, it's, like 60, 70. If it was a 9, it's going to be 25 to 30. But it was wild because, I can't think of another pack that you open when you legitimately, right now, it's so hard because if you open a pack, right, you've got an auto, you got this parallel, this color, whatever. This is just the card that you're chasing in this thing, the card. There's no parallels. There's no, variations. It's the Jordan rookie. And that was super fascinating to me. And it was a lot of fun. Didn't hit the Jordan, but we have blast.
I think I'm addicted to it now. I think we're going to have to buy a case. I'm being serious. It was fun. That was a lot of fun.
It was wild. It was wild. But on the road to 100K, I will say this is like, I think all of us, Gary, especially at the show, got a deeper appreciation for the difficulty to take a $30 profit on a card when you're into it at 300K, when you're conditioned to taking a $300 profit on a, card, right? And it almost go, why are we even fighting this battle? And so it's been a grind to get from $1,000, and I think we're up to 1,650 now.
Yeah, it's we bought a Bijan Gold, and little Matt looked at me and goes, "Hey, we can move that Bijan and make $50." And I'm like, $50? Like, I mean, I hadn't made $50 on a deal and been excited in a long, long time. It, like you said, but now we're getting to that point. We're up, again, if you think about it, in a matter of just 3 weeks and very little effort, we're up, 65%. So again, in all things relative, we're still trucking forward where we got to be. And I think this Bowman release is where we're going to make our money. So I'm excited about that.
It'll be big. So that's a quick update for our listeners. So, boys, I want to go ahead today and bring up the green room a new friend of the show and Major League Baseball's own, Mr. Jac Caglianone. Jack, what is happening, brother?
Nothing much, man. I appreciate y'all having me on.
We are honored to have you, man.
The big home run game tying yesterday. My man. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. So I know that I like to start off these interviews with, I want to talk about your collection and how you like to collect, because I know you are a big collector. What do you like to collect? Are you like a football guy? I know you love downtowns, but tell me about your collection and what you like to collect and how you go about it.
Yeah, so growing up, I was huge into baseball cards. I got the OG Trout rookie from one of the complete sets from Topps when I was younger. Got away from it a little bit. Like when high school started, focused more solely on baseball, trying to, go to college and stuff for it. And after the draft, when I was told that me and Bazana would be on the cover of Bowman Draft 24, I was like, okay, cool. Like that's kind of what got me back into the hobby. Started ripping a bunch of draft. I think in total, and this is very spread out, I probably ripped over 4 or 5 cases worth of draft. Didn't hit one of my own autos, but got a bunch of good ones. And it just kind of took off from there. And then I started hanging out with MJ Melendez, who's another huge collector. And he got me into the football and the basketball side of things. And it wasn't until I pulled my first downtown. It was a Roma Duns. First time opening any Donruss, hit a Rome. And I absolutely love the way those cards looked. So I've been on a downtown kick ever since. I got about 12 right now. Hoping to get more. I'm actually probably going to go to the card shop today during the off day.
Nice.
They always set aside their downtowns for me. So I'm going to.
So you're a true junkie like us. I like it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to where it's like I'm just getting singles, just cards that I want. I like the thrill of opening packs and boxes.
Yeah, it's the best.
So I'll go in, I'll trade in cards, get some store credit, get some boxes, and most of the time walk out very negative. But it's a lot of fun and I enjoy it. But yeah, lately I've been more so into the football, with Donruss 25 coming out. I'm super fired up about that. Countless Topps Chrome and baseball and football. And it wasn't until Magic City Collectibles, they came down to Omaha during my rehab stint. And we opened some hobby draft, pulled some great cards. I pulled my college roommate out of 25, his auto. So that's pretty sick. Then we got a Kurtz to 150. I'm big on collecting guys that I've played with or played against. And I count Kurtz because we played against each other in the fall league, going up through college, followed him super closely. I mean, he's a freak. He's having a phenomenal year. I think he's going to be the rookie of the year. Yeah, that's kind of what my collection consists of, to be honest with you. I had the opportunity to open some 2017 contenders and, got some Mahomes. So that's
Nice.
probably my grail right now.
Was that the rip with Valor?
Yeah.
You guys, yeah. You guys hit some monsters in that break.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Damn.
So
That's a nice one.
Gonna get
You
that.
gonna grade that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You got that. Got a CMC, and then ripped some 2017 Optic too. Got some more Mahomes.
Nice.
So
That's his rookie contenders auto?
yes.
That's a big card, dude.
Yeah. So
Really big card.
trust me,
Nice.
it didn't touch any fingerprints the moment it was hit. It was sleeved up and thrown in here. I'm gonna get it clean, get it graded, and hopefully comes back well.
So you mentioned you ripped a bunch of 24 draft. Do you have any more cases laying around, and are they for sale?
No, but I have 2 boxes that I'm keeping sealed. Hopefully one day with my kids, if they ever get into it, I'll be like, hey, I have these, and your dad's on the cover of this. That's pretty cool.
What cards of your own autograph wise do you own from 24 draft?
So I have like 4 autos that were given to me, thankfully, with some very nice people. Will hooked it up a couple times, and I got like the Ray Wave Aqua auto. I got a couple base autos. No crazy low numbers.
Well, your market was just I mean, when 24 draft came out, like, I mean, even still, your market is just, I mean, it's like nothing we've experienced since, in the Bowman world. Jackson Holiday, Wyatt Langford would be the 2 guys that I would compare. I mean, your prices are just through the roof. Absolutely insane. Never seen anything like it before. I remember when your Superfractor was hit in Fanatics Live, I was in there trying to buy it. I made a, big offer. I remember seeing you in there, and I think in the chat, asking if it was available.
Yeah. Yeah, I got in contact with the guy who had the Royals in that break, and I was throwing all kinds of gear and stuff at him. I wasn't really in the position to throw tens of thousands of dollars at a card, because at the time, like, I was decently big into the hobby, but I wasn't kind of where I was now. So I was telling him all this crazy stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, that's great, but do you want to throw like BK on top of it?" And I'm like, not not really.
Gary and I were trying to steal that card at K, but he said no.
Yeah, he was like, I'm getting offers for, he's like, would you be willing to do all that 30? And then, like a week later, I followed up, and he was like, yeah, would you want to do 50 on top? And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, no.
Not really trying to.
I'm not worth 50 grand.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Picture myself and sign it. I'll be good.
Yeah. So it stinks, but I think it's really cool. I know the guy who has my not auto first super, so it's cool to kind of know where that card's at and stuff like that. My spotlight,
sure.
He also has my spotlight. He has my 1-on-1 with Bazana, the dual auto. So he's got everything aside from the auto. So keeping that in the back of my mind for down the road, for sure.
For sure. Is your debut patch going to be something you're chasing? I mean, I know it's going to, it's going to be a pretty penny, but is it something that you're going to be keeping your eye on as well? Like, is that a card you want?
100%. I think that's going to be one of the cards. I mean, I'm definitely going to sink a pretty penny into that product. Hopefully, if I don't hit mine, I'll at least have a couple other guys' debut patches. And I can honestly kind of use that as leverage to get mine.
Right, that's true.
Like a 3 or 4 for 1 type deal.
Smart. Yeah.
But that's definitely.
It all comes down to, like, I mean, we talk about it all the time on the show, but it all comes down to who hits it. Who hits the card? Is it somebody that's cool and nice and like gets it and like wants to make a fair deal, or is it somebody that's just that needs the money and wants to capitalize and throw it on auction? Like when we're trying to acquire cards, that's what it comes down to. Is somebody be like, how much is this worth, or what would you pay for this? Well, it's a matter of who hits it. If it's somebody easy to deal with, So one other question. I know these guys have a bunch of questions. The Royals seem like it seems like there's a lot of collectors on your team between you and MJ and Bobby, and like more so than a lot of other teams. Like, what's the vibe like? Are you guys talking cards a lot? Are you ripping in the clubhouse at all? Like, do you guys talk about it all the time?
Yeah, we do actually. So a lot of the relievers, Schreiber, Taylor Clark, they're super big into it as well. Nick Lofton's huge into it. Whenever we do like a cool break or something, these guys will have like their supers that people will trade with them for, and they'll have them in the clubhouse and stuff like that. And I got Tank Dell and CJ Stroud downtown. Thankfully got PSA 10. And Lofty's a super big CJ Stroud fan, so he started throwing me trying to make deals right there. And I'm like, no, I'm just a downtown collector, so I'm not getting rid of this anytime soon. And he was pretty fired up about it. But it's fun throughout the clubhouse to see, what cards the guys get and stuff like that.
Nick Lofton, I own Nick Lofton's 101 at one point. The Sapphire 1 of 1 rookie card.
Really?
Auto, yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That you guys have it, because there's some teams that I feel like nobody collects, so that's pretty cool. Gary, Matt, what do you guys have? I know you guys have some questions as well, and we'll kind of go back and forth here around the round table.
Yeah,
Gary, what do you got?
Yeah, just start with a question with Florida football here. I know you're an ex Gator here, and I'm a Bulldog, so we're going to start with a Florida football question. Man, the schedule that these guys have ahead, I'm sure you looked. I mean, is this the hardest college football schedule of all time that remains? They just got done losing to LSU after losing to USF. They have Miami at Miami, number 4. They play Texas, number 8 Texas, number 10 Texas A&M. Then they have Mississippi State. Then they play Georgia, number 5. Then they have Kentucky, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Florida State. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
sorry for the coach, man. I really do. I mean, I feel sorry for him. I mean, he was already on the hot seat. I mean, that is brutal, man. I mean, no, you're a big Florida
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, it's rough because our defenses look so good. They're getting the stops when they need to. And it stinks because, I mean, you can see the glimpses of a super powerful offense when everything's clicking, when DJ's reading the defense properly. It didn't show against LSU, the 5 interceptions that doesn't help for sure. But, it's the fan in me that's like, I still got hope. But with this schedule and the way Miami handled us at our place last year and the way that they look, in my opinion, 10 times better than they were this year, we got to go to their place. It's going to be interesting. I'm hoping, I'm praying that we can make things click coming in, especially Miami weekend. It's a big game. It's big rivalries. Hopefully the guys, are aware of that. They step up. I mean, in baseball, playing Miami was the biggest weekend out of conference. There wasn't a weekend when I was there that we lost a series to them. So I love playing Miami. The energy's always great. The vibes are always great. There's a bunch of smack talk going on back and forth. And I expect to see that this weekend. But man, it's been a rough go to be a football fan the past few years. I mean, at the end of last year, we showed some great strides. It sucked losing Mertz just because he was that vocal captain leader. And I think this year DJ's figuring out how to step into that role. Oh, it's definitely not easy. I mean, I had to figure it out too once we lost Langford and Sproat and Waldrip all in one year. It stunk because it's like, all right, Wyatt was the guy that would lead by example. Sproat, same thing. Hurston. So I was like, all right, now I gotta kind of grab the bull by the horns here. And we didn't have a great year 2 years ago now, but made it to Omaha somehow, some way, and finished top 3, and it was a great year. But it's going to be interesting.
Well, I had to do that. Being a Georgia fan, I had to tee up the Florida schedule. That was just a kind of a cheap shot to get started. I reading up on you, and this is kind of the theme of most of the time when we have guys on the show. I always like to take the dad side of it. I've got 3 sons that play baseball, and I like to ask questions that the dads and the moms that have kids that are in sports they can relate to. So I kind of want to start with that. I read a story about your dad's involved in kind of your story to get to where you're at, and just that he was a huge part of you being where you're at today. Just wanted to see if you'd speak on that a bit as far as your dad. And I read the story about kind of how when you were younger, you were more of a Lego guy. And at some point, we're like, maybe I like this baseball thing after hitting a bomb at like 7 or 8 years old. And then you went to your dad and were like, hey, I think maybe I like this baseball thing. Maybe can we go hit in the cages? And then it was just like from there, it was go time. So how does that story shake out from the time you're a little kid to get to where you're at? How did the love of the game kind of come about?
Yeah. So growing up, like I'm going to start with honestly just kind of how my dad went about it. My dad was never one of those, there's parents like this all over the place. I'm not saying it's bad or it's a good thing that try and force sports on their kids. Like, oh, you have to do this, you have to play that. My dad, it wasn't eating them alive or anything. I was, 6 years old. As a 6-year-old kid, you can't expect much out of him. And, he would never force me to go play baseball. He never forced me to play any sport. Well, soccer, forced me to play soccer, which sucked. I hated soccer. But on the baseball side of things, growing up, like would always watch Quick Pitch before school. That was like our thing, getting ready. It was the only sport on. We grew up huge Rays fans. And obviously he loved the sport. I was pretty absent-minded towards baseball when I was little. Like you said, I was focused on Nerf guns and Legos and just playing outside, being a kid. And it wasn't until I'd say probably about 6, where I went up to my dad and was like, hey, like, You want to go hit? And ever since then, it's kind of been wraps from there. It's leading up to getting to the major leagues. It's always been, he's been the guy that kind of keeps my head on straight. Had great success at Florida, good success in high school, go down with Tommy John right before the draft out of high school, freaking out because I got two of my roommates get drafted in the first round, Chase Petty and Jay Allen. And I'm like, dang, dude, like I got to go to college for 3 years. Like this is going to stink. And without the support of my dad and, my family in general, my mom's also plays a big factor in all this, but my mom's not throwing BP to me or anything like that, or truly understands my swing. So that's my dad. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, dude, what is the next 3 years going to look like at school? The stories are as old as time. You got guys who come in, they forego the draft, and next thing you know, they don't really go very high in the draft or don't even continue playing. So I'm like, there's a lot of what ifs right now. And to be able to have someone like him who was just supportive, he wasn't negative. He would always kind of talk me off the ledge when I was freaking out about something. And even more so right now. I mean, this year's definitely hasn't gone the way that I wanted it to. And I know the player that I am, and I know what I can do. And I know it's just going to get better because all this is just kind of a learning curve, but he's been a big help in making me realize that. So, he's the guy that I look to when it's going really good, when it's going really bad. So to be able to have that type of person in your corner and all the sacrifices that he has made to get me to where I'm at today, it's something that, I'll be eternally grateful for. I'll never take it for granted. I'm just super thankful that I have someone like that for sure. He's my number one supporter. He's kind of like my rock up here. So to have that and to have a dad that's not getting mad at you all the time when you're little, striking out, when he's not forcing anything on you. And he's just like, dude, you've done this before. You've been here before. You know what to expect. It's just special. He has that outside perspective that got me through the minors, and you go through a tough stretch. He was just always there, super consistent. He's actually coming in tonight he's going to come for the games this week at home. So I'm stoked to see him tonight, probably get some dinner and catch up a little bit. Haven't seen him in a couple weeks, but yeah.
Nice.
When did you know you had a chance to make the majors? At what age? Well, I'll usually ask this question as well. Like, was it high school? Was it, middle school? Was it college? Like, when did it click? And you're like, you know what? Every kid has that dream when they're younger to get there. When did you go, you know what? This dream can really be a reality. And what age was that?
I would say it was starting to get super real for me my sophomore year of high school.
Yeah.
So I went to Plant High School in Tampa. It's got a great track record. Kyle Tucker, Pete Alonso, Michael Givens, Jake Woodford, a bunch of major league players.
All out of your school? Out of where you went to school?
Yes.
Wow. That's impressive.
So Coach Braun, he knows what it takes. He knows how to kind of prepare you for that. And it had become kind of like a pipeline, like the best player at Plant usually winds up committing to Florida. Preston Tucker went there too, Kyle's older brother. He set a bunch of records at Florida. Kyle was committed to Florida, so Pete Alonso, obviously, he went to Florida as well. My sophomore year, I pitched.
Shout out, Mets.
I pitched against Brandon High School. And I was a sophomore. I threw decently hard. I think I was up to like 91. And I got an offer. And at the time, it was mostly for pitching. And I was like, all right, like, I like hitting a lot. But, if pitching is what's going to get me to school, then, or at least get me a D1 offer, like that's fine too. And I started hitting the ball really well my sophomore year. And then Florida was like, all right, you can two-way if you wanted to. And I don't know if that was just a recruiting tactic to kind of get me on campus or what, because solely in an interview, I give him crap for it all the time now, but he was like, yeah, we had no intention of him hitting. He was probably just going to be a pitcher, which I thought was hilarious. But, I think my sophomore year, because going back to Plant, we would have guys come in and throw lives all the time. Like guys who didn't come to Plant, but they knew Kyle or Pete, and they just needed to get some work in before spring training. So that fall, forget his name. He was throwing lives. I'm a sophomore, and he was like working on a new cutter or something. And he like looked at me and he was like, you're either going to hit this 450 feet to dead center, or you're going to look like an idiot. And, I'm 15 years old. I'm like, all right, oh, this guy's a Major League Baseball player. I'm probably going to look like an idiot regardless, but here we go. He throws it, do exactly what the first option was, hit it for like 400 some feet to center, hit a homer off of him. And that moment I was like, dang, if I can hang with this guy and I'm only 15, like I think I could do this, like, for real. So that was probably like the moment where it fully clicked.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Last question. I know, Ham, you've got a question. This is kind of a joke, but it's really not at the same time. Like with your dad, 121 exit velo. You're one of 7 players all time that in the StatCast era have ever hit a ball over 120 mile per hour. I don't know if you knew that, but 120.9. I believe it was, maybe it was in spring training. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Highest exit velo in StatCast era.
Yeah, 120.9. And so my question is, like, for your dad throwing BP, do you have to wrap him up in like bubble wrap now when he's throwing BP to you, or does he just say, "Hey, I'm done throwing BP, man. You're hitting 121 Scud missiles." Like, does he still get to throw the BP, or is that are those days of throwing BP done?
He's got no fear.
Really?
He's got no fear. He's still throwing to me.
That's awesome.
He's smart. He stays behind the L screen for sure.
I don't blame him. Well, Ham, I'll let you fire away.
Yeah. So, Jack, I'm thinking about hearing you talk through Tommy John and relating that toward kind of some of the mental challenges with this year. You know, when I love what you said about your dad, man, like what an honor to your dad. Like, so just shout out to you, man, for honoring your dad in that season. But when you're going through these difficult moments, like everybody loves, you know, the fun moments, right? When you're hitting the home runs, you're in the College World Series, you win a game or whatever. But like it's the difficult, challenging moments in our life that define us. And of course, our podcast is a Sports Card CEO. We talk a lot about business. And one of the hard things in business is like, how do you keep going when things just aren't going your way? You know what I mean? Like, how do you have that kind of mental toughness? And there's a whole other element to the physical aspect of the game, which you obviously have. But what did that mental aspect and Tommy John related to your rookie season this year? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, to go through struggles like early on, it sucks. I mean, flat out, it's not fun. Um, and you know, the fans really don't understand that this is a very difficult game
Very.
that you're playing. So to kind of put things into perspective and be like, dude, you know, you haven't even been in professional baseball for now, it's been over a year. But you look at the grand scheme of things, and it's, you know, like I was talking with Christian Moore last night, and we were both talking about our experiences. We're in a very similar spot. And he said it like perfectly. He's like, dude, it's all about learning. He's like, this isn't gonna be the end, and this doesn't define any of our future, our career. This is all like a learning curve, you know? And to me, to kind of be able to share that kind of struggle with somebody, you know, it definitely helps a lot. And kind of going back to Tommy John in college, you know, you're not pitching for a year. I only played in 27 games my freshman year. I just DH'd, and I looked at it as I'm playing with house money. Like I'm not even supposed to really be playing this year, but let's just roll with it. You know, it's all a positive. I think one thing, like I'm super big in my faith, and at the end of the day, I think of it as a blessing to go through these hardships, because at the end of the day, it's just going to make you stronger. It's just going to make you mentally tougher at the end of it. So to kind of have like that positive outlook on it and knowing that, you know, there's brighter days ahead for sure. You know, all this, it's fine to suffer now to reap what you sow later on. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm going out there, I'm giving my all. You know, if it's not working out, that's just baseball for you. You know, it's a long year. You play a bunch of games, your body's tired. This is the most baseball I've ever played in a year. So navigating that, balancing your health, your physical health, your mental health, and all that type of stuff, I think is huge. It's super important. And I think at this point in the year, it's good to look back on and be like, okay, I've learned so much from failing so many times that going down to Omaha for the rehab gave me that nice reset. You know, now coming back up, it's taking a lot more pitches. I'm sticking to my strengths more. And, you know, I'm kind of seeing things turn slowly but surely. I mean, we got 12 games left, so it's not like anything crazy is going to happen from here to the end of the year. And I'm well aware of that. But the best thing that I can do is I can just kind of go out and do whatever I can to help us win and help us gain ground with these last 12 games.
Yeah. Dude, I got to say this, boys, of everything that's ever been said on our podcast, what Jack just said needs to be clipped and repeated to everybody out there. To all of our listeners, like that's real gut level stuff. Like, dude, thank you so much for being honest. And
Yeah, absolutely.
people are dying to hear that kind of stuff because like there's a lot of people going through really crazy, difficult stuff, and it's hard to kind of see beyond what's right in front of you. And like so many people medicate with all these different things to avoid the pain, but like being willing to sit in it and trust the process and learn from it, man, just bravo, man. Cheers to you on that one. I have one other question, kind of related to the whole two-way thing, right? And I know you've probably gotten this question a million times. I just wanted to hear your answer on the show. When you see a guy like Shohei Ohtani, who's legitimately the only two-way player that I can think of who's been effective, and then you did it so effectively in college, like, what does that mean to you as somebody who's done it on that level to now be in the bigs and see that transpire? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's truly like a once in a lifetime type of talent. I mean, yeah, like it was awesome to do it in college. I absolutely loved pitching. I mean, I'm a realistic person. I wasn't a guy that was going to have a sub-2 ERA. I was more of a guy that threw really hard and had okay off speed that got me by enough to where we could win a bunch of games. But to see him do that and do it like he pitches, he doesn't just throw. So to watch that, and I mean, I faced him. Unfortunately struck out on a slider, but I faced him and to kind of be like, wow, this is the top of the top. Nobody's really close, in my opinion.
It's okay. He struck Trout out on a slider in the World Baseball Classic. So I think you're in good company there.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you miss pitching?
I do. I mean, I think about it a good bit. I like the art of pitching. I feel like it freed me up on the hitting side of things.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for the two-way guy that is just a closer that has those the two pitches and like eventually, like, do we think Shohei becomes a closer? You know what I mean? Like to protect him, to protect his arm, like maybe, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you don't know. He's somebody like with the two TJs, like that stinks. That really does.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to not only protect one, just the sheer value of his contract, and it's like, you paid for a pitcher and a hitter. I think him out as a closer would be disgusting. Just
Right.
going for one inning and throw 190-mile-an-hour turbo sinkers. I think that'd be pretty good.
I would say. I want to do. What else do you guys have? Because I wanted to do well, actually, I do have one more question. Cause I was going to do a rapid fire with you, but do you think that us as fans, will we see a Jac Caglianone home run derby ever? Is that something you would like to participate in the future?
Yeah, I would love to participate in a home run derby.
Yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
That's on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Is that something you have to be like? Can you put your name in the hat to be like, I want to do this, or like, how does that work? Or do they have to ask you?
I honestly don't know, to be honest with you. I think it's just if you've had the most homers leading into the All-Star break, I'm sure they ask you. So
yeah, I feel like there's guys that don't like, but you want, like, the fans want to see them. Like, I know you'd be at the top of the list that people would want to see there. Like, I'd rather see you than Jazz Chisholm. But he hit one home run. That was the most embarrassing thing ever. I mean, Jesus, he's having a hell of a year, man. Oh man, can we do a little rapid fire here?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, quick questions, quick answer. Don't try not to think about it. All right.
Gotcha.
Favorite food?
Ribeye steak.
Favorite drink?
Bud Light.
Ice cold Dr. Pepper.
Ice cold Dr. Pepper. Favorite movie?
Baby.
Benchwarmers.
Favorite TV show?
The Simpsons.
Ooh, The Simpsons. Okay. How do you drink your coffee?
I like it iced.
Okay. Black?
No, I'm more of the latte type guy.
Okay. MJ or LeBron?
MJ.
Ohtani or Ruth?
Ohtani.
BGS or PSA?
I think nothing beats a good PSA 10.
Okay.
Unless it's a black label BGS.
Okay. Mets or Yankees?
Yankees.
Come on, man. Jack.
My grandpa's from Brooklyn.
If there was Jack, if there was one team that other than the Royals that you would like, you're like, hey, I would love to go play for them. Who would that be?
Just growing up, a big Rays fan, hometown, I think would be sick.
So I don't know what your contract looks like or whatever, if you have a no trade clause. If you don't have one, who would be on your no trade clause?
Mets.
Yeah, clearly the Mets.
Not the Braves, for sure.
I don't know. I mean, every team has its positives, in my opinion. I mean, I think I like the financial side of things sometimes, and I think of states with no income tax. So like the Texas teams, Las Vegas teams, the Florida teams.
All the ballparks, like as a kid growing up playing Major League Baseball, like, wow, of all the parks that you've played at, like, has there been a park you walked into and just went, oh my goodness?
Unfortunately, it was hurt for the Fenway trip, but right now, probably Wrigley. I thought Wrigley was cool.
Nastiest pitcher that you faced?
Matt Brash with the Mariners.
Okay. If you were to, nobody on the Royals, but if you were to invest in 2 players' cards, who are you investing in?
Caminero and Langford.
Of both of those. Both they're super, so I love it. Okay. Gary, I know you have a rapid fire. Go.
Yeah, I don't know about a rapid fire here, but prospects wise, guys you've played in the minors, so that you've as getting to the pros here. Who are the guys in the minors that if you were looking at Bowman cards right now and you're going to open it up, you're like, man, these are an under radar guy maybe or two that you've played against. You're like, man, this guy's really, really good. He's under the radar. Just anybody in general that stood out to you in your journey to get to the pros. You're like, man, this guy's in the minors still, but man, he can play.
Yeah, definitely. I really liked Walcott just with how young he is. And, he ended the year on a good note. I like Walcott. You can never go wrong with JJ Weatherholt, who played summer ball in college. So getting to know him on a deeper level than just the playing side of things. He's an awesome dude. Absolutely disgusting. I think he's, the sky's the limit. Can never go wrong with, Connor. Connor, I think, is going to be that Bobby Witt style kind of player. So I'm huge on him. Obviously, Condon, he's probably one of my closer friends outside of all this. James Tibbs. I think Tibbs is
Okay.
super underrated for how well his power output has been. I talk to him all the time. And, he's gone through 3 orgs now.
I was just going to say, it had been tough from him, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So talking to him about all that, he was happy to go to the Red Sox, and then he was super fired up to go to the Dodgers. I think he's going to be disgusting. And like super sleepers, I'm trying to think of
is there a pitcher or two that you faced in the minors like Sakura or Savage or anybody like that? You're like, man, this guy's any kind of Skeens type that you saw down there? Like, man, these guys are just amazing. Any of those guys down there?
I never had the opportunity to face them, but played with Trey too. We'll actually be seeing him this week. He just got the call, so pumped up for him. Cole Drake actually is one of those. He's a lefty. He was with the Rangers, and he got traded. Carter, where did he get traded to? Cole Drake.
Diamondbacks, I think.
Diamondbacks now. But he's
What's up, Carter?
good left-handed pitcher.
What's up, guys?
You know who's having crazy success so far? Sproat.
Yeah, Sproat's killing it.
He's looking good.
It's cool.
Waldrop,
it's cool to see
Yeah.
our whole starting rotation, our weekend rotation from my sophomore year in the bigs now. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be one of my topics for you, and it was a question. It was going to be a question, but once you mentioned it about the adjustment to the majors, and we've talked about it a lot on this show. I specifically have talked a lot about it as an investor into high-end sports cards. You look at guys like James Wood. You look at guys like PCA. You look at guys like Junior Caminero. All 3 of those, very similar as yourself, big-time prospects, right? Big time in the card market. All 3 of those guys had to go through the same adjustment period that you're going through. And you know what happened this year? They all balled out. They adjusted. And so that's the thing I wanted to tell you, just as much as anything, keep your head up on that, because it's every single time these days. The call-up used to be, the expectations for you guys coming up are just ridiculous. To have to go from SEC baseball to single A to double A to triple A and think that you're just going to immediately pull and do what Nick Kurtz has done is not normal, right? I mean, there is an adjustment period. And so, I'm putting my money on you next year, man, to go out there and ball out. But that was going to be my question with Hurston Waldrop, as I'm a huge Braves fan. I'm here outside of Athens in Georgia. And my question you see Hurston last year, I mean, you could see his eyes were big as baseballs coming in last year. A lot of pressure coming in. First round draft pick, got the call at the end of the season. He struggled, and he has come back a total different guy the end of this year. It was almost kind of like he was an afterthought now for the Braves organization. Like, oh, we'll bring him up at the end of the year. And then the dude has been lights out. Like, with that adjustment period, like, what you played in the toughest league there is in college baseball in the SEC. How different is the game going from the SEC, which is tough, going to the pros? Is the adjustment just the off-speed stuff? Is it just they just keep the scouting reports they have on you? Like, what's the biggest difference you feel like between pro baseball and the SEC?
Every SEC school had their Friday night guy who was their guy, like Arkansas with Hagen Smith, Vandy with Carter Holton. All those guys are, in my opinion, like they're the outliers. They have the 4 pitches that they can throw for strikes and they throw them really well. But overall, you would get like their higher end arms, but they would have 2 pitches. So it was so easy to be like, all right, I'm just going to sit on this one. And like, he's going to throw it. And, you just wouldn't miss it. And then you get here now with all the technology that these pitchers have nowadays. You look at scouting reports and almost every starter you face has like 5 pitches that he throws. So I think that's probably like the biggest difference, just because 1, they're the best of the best. They're here for a reason. And 2, you're trying to cover a guy who throws 7, but then he has an 81 mile an hour changeup and an 89 mile an hour slider. And then on top of that, he's got a sinker and a big curveball. And you're like, all right. And he throws them all 20% of the time. So the splits are perfectly even. You're like, all right, well, now I'm just trying to look in a certain spot in the zone. And it's just reacting and kind of letting your hands work to the off speed while staying on the heater. So it's honestly just more information. What I would say is the biggest jump. I mean, the other thing that me and even Carter's seeing it now, like the defenses here, just light years ahead of, in my opinion, like college baseball, even in the SEC. These guys make plays daily that you're just like, wow, in AA, that's a double. But, they're making it look like a can of corn out there in the alleyway.
Yeah.
That's
a good point.
It's really interesting if you look historically at batting averages in Major League Baseball, right? Like, I remember growing up as a kid, you think, okay, there's a handful of guys, hit 300 or whatever. Like, there's like 6 in the entire league that are batting 300 right now. 6 Major League Baseball players batting over 300. To your point, pitching and the statistical stuff and the arms, the number of good arms has gotten so good. It is a difficult road for sure. And I just don't think people get that because they look at, NBA or NFL or whatever, and they see completion percentages or whatever. And like, come on, you're like, dude, this is to put the ball in play and then for it to be a hit. Like, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. I mean, it's so funny how baseball is because you can do everything right. You can hit a ball 105 or 110, but if it's like, it'll be right at somebody. And you're like, wow, that was, I did everything right there. But that's just baseball, and that's, I think, the coolest separator between like the NBA, the NFL, and all that type of stuff. It's like you can do everything right and still not get quote unquote success,
The outcome.
even though that was a win.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I have a question to go back to cards for a second. As you've gotten into cards, certainly, and you say you're collecting downtowns, you're getting more into basketball, football. I was going to ask you straight up 3 Grail cards. Like right now, if Kern decided to bankroll you and he just said, all right, Jack, go to the grocery store of the card shelf at Kern's Hobby House, and you could get any 3 cards in the the hobby, what 3 cards would you go after?
I'll either get Caitlin Clark's 101 Kaboom or her 101 Flawless, just because her market is insane. And then I do a Brady. It's not like the craziest card, but his 2000 Topps Chrome. I really like that card. And him bringing a Super Bowl back to Tampa. I'm a huge Brady fan. I like Brady a lot. So having one of those would be awesome. Probably, I mean, I got to be a little selfish. I'd probably get my first Super auto.
Let's go. That Brady Chrome refractor, that Bowman Chrome 2000 Bowman Chrome refractor.
Yeah,
that's the
big
one.
All right, last 2 questions for you, Jack. Again, just reading your story. I enjoyed reading the story as an article on you. And one part of that article, it mentioned about, it just brought home this last weekend for me. I've got 3 sons, again, mentioning that. And my oldest, who's just turned 12, was playing this weekend. Perfect game. And he's playing at the major level at 12 years old. So he's already seeing kids throwing 70, 72, 73 mile per hour at 12 years old, which is crazy. But now they're seeing the hook, the big hooks, guys with big hooks already at 12 years old that are, I mean, the guy we played the number 2 team in the country this weekend, and getting adjusted to My son went back to the dugout, and he had a really good game. First game through, 2 for 2, came up against this kid next game, and they saw he went 2 for 2 hitting the fastball, right? So what do you think they started throwing him? The kid throws him first pitch, kind of high and in. Then he comes next pitch, kind of freezes him on the outside. Then he buffed him in. And so now it's like a 2-2 count or whatever. And he threw him a filthy hook with 2 strikes. His son goes back to the dugout. He's like, Dad, that was a ridiculous hook. And I read in your story, you were like, dude, I could not sniff a curveball when I was younger. You couldn't sniff. Where did it did it click for you with the curveball? What's a tip? There's a lot of people. I mean, shoot, my buddy Jeff Francoeur, man, he struggled with the curveball. It could be a tip for him.
Honestly, seeing the pop out of hand. That's when you kind of know, all right, this one's going to hang a little bit. It's going to be in the zone. I mean, yesterday was a pretty good example of it. I mean, Nola got me out on his curveball. And, when you get older, you'll see how guys kind of tunnel really, really well. So his fastball out of hand looks similar to the curveball. And he's throwing heaters up just so he can get you on the curveball down. And, I fell into his plan. Didn't work out for me. But it was one of those where, all right, remember the cue. If you see a pop, that's when all right, this one's going to stay up.
When you say the pop, I mean, are you saying you're just seeing kind of the hand, you're seeing that flip? I mean, when you're saying pop, what do you mean?
It'll be you'll see the ball as he's coming through and releasing it. It'll start more up rather than coming straight out of his hand.
Yeah.
So once you see that pop up, you're like, all right,
okay,
here we go. This is going to be a good one to hit.
Yep. And so how do you detect that between the slider? Because obviously tons of guys they have the sweepers and the sliders. Is that you're seeing a different pop? It's almost like you're seeing more of an outward pop, or
yeah, with the sliders, it's more so guys just get around it more. So that's also, I mean, it's kind of the same idea. You want to see it up, but the sliders, if a guy has a really good one, you're probably not really going to see a pop. So it's more so for curveballs.
Okay. Well, last question for me, and again, it relates to the kids. And again, just thank you for coming on from my side. Thank you for answering all my questions. And again, my last question is going to be for the kids out there, where they all dream to be sitting where you're sitting one day. What is your best piece of advice to kids? Kids that are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old before they get to high school with the game of baseball. You've gone through it. You sit where you sit now. If you could give them 1 or 2 pieces of advice, what would that be?
I think the moment you realize how much baseball there is to be played at that young age, the better off you'll be. I was somebody who, I still fall into it sometimes. I get so caught up in the now. Even when I was 12 or 13, I had a bad game. I would be pissed off. My biggest thing is just really be where your feet are. You got so much baseball left to play. You're going to learn so much from the game. Even more so when you are 12, when you are 10, and you're just figuring out, and you're just starting to see curveballs. It's don't freak out. You have plenty of time to learn through this game. And that's the joy of baseball. There's no such thing as being perfect in this game. Nobody anywhere, even the greats, nobody's perfect. So for me, what I like to, when I do camps or when I talk to groups of younger players, it's you're going to fail. And the quicker you can learn from your failure, the better off you're going to be without putting too much emphasis on it. Don't get caught up in the 0 for 5 or in the 0 for 4 game. At the end of the day, the sun's going to rise tomorrow. And when you're playing 12-year-old baseball in a week and you're playing 3-4 games in a day, you got 30 minutes before you have to play again. So who cares that you just went 0 for 4? You're still playing.
Yeah.
So that, my biggest thing is just have that bigger picture mentality instead of being so localized on 1AB. Take it pitch by pitch and just keep stacking that kind of mental process, and everything else will come.
That's great advice, man. Thank you.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap the show up. Jack, for a little personal indulgence here. The guy that I loved growing up as a kid was Bo Jackson. And so I'm curious, has Bo ever been around the Kansas City clubhouse?
Yeah, he has been. He was out in spring training for a few days, and I got to talk to him. And I got a pretty funny Bo Jackson story. So before I even introduced myself to him or anything, Mike Sweeney, Royals Hall of Famer, he's like, Jack, come over, come meet Bo. And I'm like, oh, sick. So I'm walking over, and before Bose like introduces himself and I introduce myself, he looks at me like up and down, and he goes, "You're built like a linebacker." And he goes, "I'd run right through your butt." And I'm like, he didn't say butt, but you know what I mean. And I was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you probably would, even right
Yeah.
now.
That's awesome.
He was at the National Sports Card Show with his new brand, and I saw him, and I mean, I'm 6'3", I'm a pretty big guy, pretty tall, but I saw him, and he was not very tall, but he's so thick, and I thought to myself, how is he ever that fast? I was like, no wonder, dude. The dude is just built like a freight train, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an awesome dude, though. He called me when I first was up, like 2 weeks in, just like, hey, giving me like a pep talk, hyping me up, getting me ready to go. And I'm like, this is
It's awesome.
so cool.
That is
Bo
awesome.
Jackson.
Yeah, pep
That's
talk from
freaking
Bo
awesome.
Jackson. That's sick. Yeah, Jack, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. I heard you have a new card. I heard you have a card Instagram account now. Is that true?
Yes.
What is that
Yes.
handle?
It's Cags Collects.
I like it. Awesome, man. Keep collecting. It's awesome. Love that you do that. And I best of luck to you the rest of the season, those 12 games, and I have a good feeling for you for next year. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys for having me. What's up, guys? This is Jac Caglianone. Thanks for watching the Sports Card CEO.